Alright students, this is going to be a video on just opening your room and opening supplies before your competency assessment. So obviously now you would have already done your medical hand wash, you have on your surgical attire. Okay, so you're walking into the operating room with your mask on. If you forget to put your mask on, your room is contaminated and therefore you'd have to start over. Okay, so when we're opening a room, the first thing you want to do is start in the middle and work your way out. Okay, so you come into your room, everything here has been put around, what we call it. So you've placed your pack on the back table, you have your gown in a wrapper on your mayo stand, we have our basin, laparotomy basin in our ring stand, and we have our Genesis pan on our ring stand. So the first thing we'll do is give ourselves room. So since we're going to start in the middle, we have to spread everything out so that I'm not trying to squeeze in between our mayo stand and our back table. Okay, a lot of students forget to do this and then end up contaminating or being too close to something that they've opened. So first thing I'm going to do, spread everything out, give myself enough room. Okay, so this is an oblong wrapped package, so we would have already taken it out of our dust cover, checked our dust cover for holes, and thrown our dust cover away. There'll be some sort of tape on the package. So here in lab, we just take the tape off. In real life, there's usually a perforated spot where you can rip the tape, okay? So we want to open it with the top first wrapper going away from us. We're going to open it, make sure all of the folds go down, okay? And open the one closest to us. Again, make sure all the folds go down and open up. At this point, you need to recognize which side of the wrapper you're going to pull first. So here you can see this is the outside wrapper, okay? So I'm going to come all the way to the end of my table and pull this out. I'm going to show you one of the biggest mistakes students make is they pull the wrong side. So what happens is they reach up here to pull this, they've touched this side of the wrapper. So if I open it wrong and I go around, this is a spot that I just touched. Now look, it's on top of my back table, okay? So that's the problem with opening your wrapper or opening your back table pack the wrong way, okay? So back to doing it the right way. Looking now, this is the side that's open. I'm going to come here. Do not lift up in the air because then that brings the ends back up towards your sterile field. So you're going to hold with both hands. I like to try and hold it below table level. Pull it flat out, let it drop. Notice I'm not bending over, I'm bending at my knees, okay? Put your hands on your belly. Make sure you're 12 to 18 inches away from your back table. Again, you're going to have your hands on your belly, walk around, go to the other side. Again, I'm reaching below the sterile field, pulling straight down, not up. Look how far away I am from the back table, okay? So again, put my hands in to walk around my corner. So what tends to happen is students get really comfortable and then they start walking around corners like this. Okay, I'm way too close. So just be very conscious to walk around your back table like this. So since I am on this side, I'm just going to open my basin next. Instead of wasting the energy and steps to walk over and open my gown first, I'm here, so I'll just open my basin. So again, give yourself enough room. This is what we call an envelope wrapped package, okay? So the first corner, can you see that? The first corner should be sticking out at you. You don't want it like this with the corner away because you want that first flap to open away from you. So I'm going to open it. I like to go to the side. Just hold on and let it drop. Notice I don't have my face over the wrapper, okay? Find my next corner, it's opening this way. Pull it down. Here's where people have a tendency to get too close to their back table. So you don't give yourself enough room and then they open like this. Look where my hand is, okay? So when you open that, you want to be just taking it down, bending at your knees, not bending over the basin, and pull it down, okay? And then the last corner should be towards you, pulling it straight down. If you have edges that are stuck up, you can kind of reach around and grab the very edges, okay? I open that with never reaching over the top of my basin. Now to move it, I can either use my foot to move it closer to my back table, or I can reach underneath the wrapper and push it closer. We want to be 12 to 18 inches away. If we leave it this far away, what's going to happen? Somebody's going to walk in between our sterile fields. We never walk in between sterile fields. Sorry, I was too close there. So I'll reach down and push it 12 to 18 inches away from my back table. All right. Closer. So this is a Genesis pan. So it has, can you see the filter? It has a filter on top. There's a hole, so before I even open it, I'm going to check through the hole to see that I can see my blue filter. And then we have indicators, external indicators on each end. So I put these in like this on purpose. So this one you can see has turned black. Okay? This one is backwards. Don't be afraid to grab it and turn it so that you can check and make sure that your indicator has turned, being run through the autoclave, okay? So I've checked for my filter. I've checked both my indicators on the outside. Now I'm going to open each end. So how you do this is you grab the bottom of the handle. You're going to put your hand over the arrow, because this arrow is going to break when you're opening it, and they can fly off and possibly hit your sterile field, okay? So normally I'd be in this position, standing like this, making sure that I'm not too close to my back table, okay? Just so you can see in the video, I'm gonna do it this way. So I'm putting my hand over the arrow, popping this end, okay? Putting my hand over this arrow, pulling up and popping that arrow. So now that it's open, we're going to open it like a hot pot. So you're going to take your hands, grab the handles. We are not going to put our hands like this when we're opening the lid, because when you're opening it like a hot pot, if you have your fingers down, now my fingers are dragging really close to my sterile item on the inside. So you're going to grab, tuck all of your fingers and your thumbs in, kind of do a rocking motion backwards while you're opening it, and you're going to step back, okay? What we're trying to avoid, and why we're doing the rocking motion, is opening it and flipping the lid over, right over our sterile package. If this has any sort of dust or anything on it, much less we're over our sterile area, we don't want to be over or drop anything in there, okay? So again, we're rocking back, flipping it over once we get back here. So this is our internal filter. So we're making sure that we have filter on all of the edges. It can be so that you maybe can't see the filter on one side, but you need to make sure that all of the holes are covered. Okay? So we're going to open this up, take the filter out, check it for holes. If there is a hole in this, we'd be getting a new Genesis pan. Okay? At this point, normal, you would throw the filter away in the real OR. Here we just stick it in the lid and put it underneath. Same thing here. I'm going to grab this, not being close to the sterile area, and move it 12 to 18 inches away from my basin. Okay? I can look inside now and make sure that I do have indicators. I'm not going to look over, and I can't stick my hand in at this point. There's been some confusion on that. I can't reach in right now. I'm not sterile. So I can't do that and check like I had an indicator that was upside down. So you can just look in, check, and make sure you have indicators, but don't touch them at this point. Okay? All right, next we will come over and do our gown. So again, giving myself enough room. This gown has a dust cover on it. So the first thing we're going to do, all of these have dates on them. So make sure that your gown's not outdated. Make sure you have the right size. Okay. So this has a protective, it's in a envelope wrapped wrapper, okay? So I can touch it with my bare hands. I don't have to throw it onto the mayo stand, okay? Then I will check my dust cover. What we see students do is they've opened the gown, they check their dust cover, look where my back is, and look how close I am to my back table. So before you check dust covers, make sure you're stepping away from the sterile field and checking your dust cover for holes, okay? If your dust cover does have a hole, obviously you'd need a new gown. All right, so when you open a gown, just like the basin, we have the first little corner going towards us. So the whole time opening my gown, I'm making sure I'm not too close to my back table. I'm not walking in between my back table and my mayo stand to open my gown wrapper. And I'm not letting the wrapper flop back over, and I'm not reaching over the gown to open it, okay? So I'm going to open the first one and give it a little tug. So these wrappers have a lot of memory in them. See all those folds? So they will have a tendency to want to flop back over. So that's why we tug on them a little bit, okay? My next edge, this one, I'm going to hold on to the gown. See how that one's coming back over? I'm not reaching over like this. I'm going to the side and pulling on two corners at once. Here's my next corner. Making sure. And then my last one. So just watch what corners are going to flop up and hold on to them, okay? When you're opening your gown, you can't just pull it this way or that, okay? Once a back table is opened, once any sterile wrapper is opened, you can't adjust them because then you're pulling non-sterile areas below the sterile field up, okay? So next, I have just a few items for the competency. You will have to open a package of towels and a suture. So when opening towels, again, here's your corner that's facing towards you, and there's a little spot underneath. So you're going to have the corner facing towards you, stick your thumb underneath the corner, and my fingers are on the back. Okay? So the first one is going to open away from you, and you're going to take it and tuck it into your thumb. Now this one already kind of opened on itself, so I will go ahead and grab this corner down here, and I wrap it around my thumb and tuck it in so that those corners don't flop back out when I'm throwing the towels on, and the corners don't touch my back table. Then I'll take this corner, pull it around. We are never reaching over the towels to open anything, okay? So I can rotate my hand, but I'm never reaching over. And then my last corner is here. So notice all of the corners on my towels are uncovered. None of these wrappers are stuck up here, which students have a tendency to have a problem with. If your wrapper is still stuck, you need to grab your corner and pull it off to get whatever you're opening free, okay? And I'm going to hold on to this. So I'm holding on to all four corners of the wrapper. I'm staying 12 to 18 inches away, throwing it on. Notice none of my corners have come loose. This is what we'll see as people throw stuff on. Look where my corners have gone, okay? So we have to check this wrapper for holes. Again, students will do this. Look where my back is, okay? We also don't want to see this, shaking your wrapper out and making all the dust fly and pulling dust up off the floor, okay? So I throw the towels on, I back away, and nicely hold the wrapper up to the light and check for holes, okay? All right, next we have a suture package. So the first thing, sometimes the corners are stuck, so you'll have to get the corners loose. Again, underneath here, the sealed edge is not sterile. So when you open suture, you're going to open it just a little bit. We call it crack it and shoot it, okay? So notice my fingers, there's the heat sealed edge right there, right there. My fingers are not going inside that heat sealed edge. What I mean by inside is I'm not sticking my thumbs or anything in, okay? Notice how I've kept my thumbs long. I'm not holding it with just the tip. I'm using the whole length of my thumb to make sure I have all of those corners secured, okay? The suture is going to settle to one side. Whatever side it settles to, I'm going to put that side away from the sterile field, okay? So notice if it had settled to this side, I would have turned this way. You're literally just going to crack it and shoot it onto the sterile field. Notice I was not close and over the sterile field when I was trying to open it. So when you crack it, shoot it on, step back from the sterile field, check your wrapper for holes, okay? And you can just throw your wrapper away. Same thing, this is a knife blade or a safety blade. So again, it's just going to be a crack it, control your edges. It's going to that side. Shoot it on. Notice my wrapper came apart. That's all right. Just check both sides for holes. While I'm throwing, I'm making sure I'm watching and that the sterile item is not hitting my fingers going over the sterile wrapper, okay? If it had, our back table would be contaminated. Well, this is a pair of gloves. You will have to throw surgeon's gloves on the back table. You'll have to throw your second pair of gloves on the back table, okay? So, same thing, crack it. I'm going to open these all of the way. So what we're watching for, and what students have a tendency to do is they'll open it, they'll move things around. Look where my glove is now. My glove is over the edge of the wrapper. So the sealed edge is not sterile, much less this edge of the wrapper is not sterile, right? So once you open it, it can't move. So I would just throw these away and go get a new pair. So when you open, make sure you're watching where they go. These are going to settle to the left side. So I'm going to turn this way. And I missed. So that's okay if you miss. It's going to happen. People have been techs for 15 years and they still miss throwing things on. What you have to be aware of is those gloves have hit my back table now. So I still have to check this wrapper for holes, because if there was a hole, now my back table is contaminated. Okay. Some facilities also have long wrappers of gloves. So you can either, so these edges are stuck, you can crack it and hold it in your hand and open it up all the way, watching. So see, that heat sealed edge hit my gloves because they moved over, so I wouldn't use these anymore. If they had not, you would just open it all the way, control your corners, and throw them on the sterile field. Step away, check your wrapper. You can also take these and open them on any flat surface. So this is a linen hamper. You can use your cautery. You can use a prep table, just any flat surface that you find that you can lay them on to open them. So you'll start, lay it flat. I'm going to use my fingers to hold the corners down and just kind of shimmy this back and forth to open it. This is a really good way to watch and make sure that your gloves are not going over the laminated edge, okay? Pick them up, watch while you're walking. I'm going to throw these on my gown because these are my undergloves. Again, I'm making sure that I'm not too close when I open. You're going to see a lot of people open gloves and go like that because they want to make it onto their mayo stand and they don't want to miss. The problem is I was over my sterile field. I was closer than 12 to 18 inches away, okay? So I would consider that contaminated. So again, I'm going to open this pair of gloves on a flat surface. Watch the edges, make sure my gloves aren't moving, and then stay far enough away and throw them on, okay? Step away from my field, check my wrapper. This whole time I was making sure that I wasn't 12 to 18 inches too close to my back table. okay? So this is what we call a cliffhanger. So you can see how the gloves are hanging off the edge over here. That is fine unless they are hanging like this. If they're hanging down and over, now I've touched the edge of all this wrapper, so that is not okay. You would just leave them and you would throw on another pair. But what I did when I threw them on and they're kind of just hanging straight off the edge, that's fine, okay? If you throw gloves on and they end up like that, where they're over the edge of the wrapper, you just leave them there. We don't come around the edge. You'll see people do this, come around and reach up and pull them off. We don't do that. We just leave them there, throw on another pair, making sure that we're watching for our 1-inch margin on the border, okay? It's better to be safe than sorry. When you're opening things, if you feel like, oh, I'm not really sure, it's close to 1 inch, our saying, when in doubt, throw it out. So if it's too close and you don't like it, it's landed here, oh gosh, that's really close. I don't know, I opened, I'm not sure if I touched it or not. Just throw a new pair on, okay? I don't want to be the patient getting the infection, right? Okay, one last thing I'll show you opening is, these are hard plastic wrappers. So all the things we just opened were paper plastic, where it's paper or plastic on each side, soft plastic. So these are hard, rigid plastic. So like these are hema clips, liga clips for clamping off vessels or ligaments, whatnot. So you're gonna hold it in one hand, peel the plastic off the other side, okay? Again, I'm not reaching my fingers over that heat sealed edge there. Liga clips we usually throw into a basin. So I'm gonna walk over here, put the side away from your sterile field, so the top side away from the sterile field, and then whoop, throw it into our basin. Again, we're gonna check for holes, okay? And we'd have to open it again. You can open it into or onto the back table as well, or you could have somebody take an instrument and hand these to them, okay? So it happens, you guys, that things don't make it onto the sterile field. Here is a larger, so this is a large drape. So again, something that's in a paper wrapper. You can see the date is on here, 2023. So we're gonna check that first. We're also gonna check for holes. So a lot of times we get things that already have holes in them. So you can see somebody at a facility circled this. This wrapper already has a hole in it. So that means the item inside is not sterile. So you're always gonna check your item first to make sure there aren't any holes. We'll pretend that's not there. So this is essentially just like opening a gown. So it's in an envelope wrapper, so I can touch it with my hands. I would check it for holes. We're pretending that hole's not there. So again, just like opening our towels, an envelope wrapper, first one away from me, tuck it in, I'm holding it there. Look for my next corner, go onto the side, okay? I'm not going to take this one, look where my arm is going over the wrapper, okay? So this is when I talk about rotating your hand. I'm gonna grab it from the front, rotate my hand holding the package so that I can get the wrapper there. So see how all of my corners are exposed. And then you can throw it onto your sterile field, back away, check for holes, okay? Throw it away. All right. So we have Casey here in scrub that we are just going to show handing some awkward items to people. So this is an anchor for orthopedic shoulder procedure. So these are hard foil. So these you cannot crack and shoot onto the sterile field. They open really hard. So I'm just opening it. See how I'm using the whole length of my thumb and into my palm, okay? Once you open something, you cannot close it back up and open it again to hand it to somebody. So if Casey's busy doing something and setting up her back table, I'm just gonna stand here until she's ready to take something from me, okay? So when she's ready, she'll turn around, grab the item. Notice she's using one hand. She's going to stand there until I open the wrapper all the way and check it for holes. Then she'll set it on her back table, okay? Here we have a rigid container that's a large rigid container. So notice all of these have kind of spots that are stick out further than other ones. This one has ridges, so that's a perfect spot to have your hand to open it, okay? So I'm right-handed. There's always a corner that's loose, so I'm going to make sure that corner is away from me, so when I open this, it's easier to pull. So if I'm right-handed, how am I going to open this? It's just very awkward. So hold it so the corner's away from you. There's an out date on here that you're going to make sure, okay? So notice how I'm just holding that corner and peeling away. So you can either hold on to the edge of the paper, or you can take this and wrap it underneath and kind of get a good hold on the plastic with both hands. So this one has a top layer of plastic that Casey's going to have to take off first. So she's going to take that off. She cannot set that on her back table because we haven't checked the wrapper yet. So notice she's handing it to me, or she could, yeah, just hand it to your sterile circulator, okay? I'm going to get a good grip on here again. She's going to find spots to grab, okay? She's going up with it. She doesn't want to go, do you want to show them going over? She doesn't want to go over the edge, because now our sterile item has touched the sealed edge. It's not sterile anymore. So you use your fingertips, go straight down, lift straight up. All the time Casey's making sure she doesn't have her back to the sterile field, and then she's waiting for her circulator to check for holes. They'll say it's good, and then you can set it on your back table. Larger items, what is this? This is a ligating device for urology cases. So you'll see there's the chevron edge, and this edge is straight. So you find the chevron edge to open first. Pop your corners. Okay. The larger the package, the harder it is to control your corners. So as I'm opening it, I'm trying to make sure that my corners aren't flopping in. If they flop back in and hit your sterile item, you have to get a new one. So you'll open it just a little ways, have your sterile person come in. Casey's watching as she's pulling it out for all those edges of the item to flop out. So now she's used both hands. So if I check this and it has holes, both of Casey's hands are contaminated. Okay? So your item was good. She can set it down. We'll go over contaminated glove removal later. Some things come in cardboard or like rep items. So this is mesh for a hernia. So they'll have directions on how to open it. So that one said to rip the wrapper off first, okay? So there'll be out dates on here. Obviously these are outdated, that's why we have them. So you'll notice you'll open the package and then your sterile item is inside. This obviously isn't sterile since we're touching it with our bare hands, okay? There'll be stickers on there that your nurse will get, but again, it's just popping the sealed edge, watching our corners. These foil ones are a lot harder to open. Get it to a point where Casey can get to it, watching my corners. I'm using my fingers to kind of push it up a little bit. She can grab it, go straight up. I'm going to back away. Notice how Casey's grounding herself on her back table. So see her left hand. So when she grounds herself with her left hand, it prevents her from putting her back to the back table.